and welcome to Connected. Another week, another Connected. And it feels like we just had an episode, but I know why. Because we've used to do it on Fridays. So today is not a Friday, it's a Wednesday. And from now on, that is the new day for Connected. Just so you know, so if you joined us last Friday and now that's why we just changed to Wednesdays. And today we have a very special Wednesday because we have three amazing guests. We're going to talk about a modern way of working, going through step by step how to take your IT infrastructure and make it into, how can we say it, how it should be. And after that, we're going to talk about something that's very dear to my heart, and that is leadership. Because leadership right now, while at a distance, can be very hard for people when they're used to talking to their employees close by and, yeah, like sitting across from the table. And last but not least, our CEO is here to share his thoughts about what's happened the last couple of weeks and how that has affected companies, the digital transformation, and what's to come. We've set the headline to 3 years in 3 weeks, and that's almost exactly what has happened. An amazing story and great insights from our CEO, Thomas Ekman, as the last thing. But now, let's start with our first guest, Fredrik Berg. Are you with me, Fredrik?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hello. Welcome to
Hello.
Connected once again.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Same here. Last
Yeah.
time you were here, we had some technical difficulties with the sound. So
Yeah.
hopefully everything works today.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take more time talking about that. And instead, Fredrik, you work at Dustin as what?
Yeah, I work as a service product manager for workplace, digital workplace, and the public cloud.
So we could say you're an expert in when it comes to working in a modern way.
Yeah, you can say that. All up in the clouds.
And that is why, like, one of the things I often think about is when people mention IT, that may be like the, I don't know if you've seen the English series, the IT department, and it's very old school. Like, IT is this part of a company that no one really wants to connect with because they're the ones saying no and stopping things. But you can't do that anymore. People will not accept it. And my question to you is, if a company is, if they are in that situation where IT and employees are almost opposites, they have more of a like relationship like this instead of an helping each other, where do you start to change that?
Yeah, and that's pretty real that you say. IT should be supporting you, and you should be excited about working with IT. And we can see now more than ever that we need a good way of working, a modern way of working in these times, like a standard way of moving forward with our IT solutions. And many companies maybe are stuck in old solutions, as you say, and when something happens that's increasingly you have impact on your company, on the way of working, you need to have the ability to work wherever you are directly in the same way as you have done before. Be like productivity and have the same experience as you work on the office. And if we look back a little bit, most of the companies started this journey moving to the cloud, moving their communication platforms, email. That was the easy one, moving to the cloud. And most of the companies, a lot of companies are already in the cloud with the email. The cloud platforms support that, manage that in a good way. So you don't need to actually have your own IT department supporting that or managing that. You need probably have a partner that can help you to utilize on the platform using it in the good way.
But when it
So,
comes to email, just if I can,
yeah,
like for me, email has been in the cloud since I don't know Hotmail 20 years ago.
yeah.
Like that has not been the case for company email, maybe,
No, no,
or
no, no. No, you can say that it's this year and it started for real in 2011. It's actually, Microsoft. We have Google and those big uh, um, uh, vendors of cloud solutions nowadays. They created solutions for the companies about 10 years ago. As you say, the email for private persons has been in the cloud quite a while, and it's often like that. You start with the private phone, for example, private way of working, using social media, um, sharing content in the cloud, and in the next step, you incorporate that in the companies. And most of it is the younger generation now coming to the market demanding that. So if you want to hire the right people, the right skills, you need to have a modern solution.
yeah,
And
like
the email
having
is the first way.
like having
Yeah.
it actually work as you're used to at home is almost a
Yes.
selling point, a recruitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
for me that's very important. I'm going to say I'm the younger generation now, even though some people may disagree.
Yeah.
But no, that's very important for me that it works as easy as it work for me because I actually I don't accept anything else.
Yeah. It's so. It should be as easy, and it should be really easy to start up, easy to understand when you start using it, because it's always about the user experience. All companies get the value of what they invest in when they start using it, when the end user is starting to using it. Before that, you don't get the value of the investment you have done. So that's really important. And as we speak of email, the next step has been moving the collaboration to the cloud, starting to collaborate around documents, sending information in maybe new ways, collaborating in the same document and sharing video content, sharing files in a whole new way, using your phones, devices to access that information wherever you are. And that has built the next journey for the companies.
When would you say this part started, or are people? Is this the stage most people are in, or
Yeah, here we have it's more like, okay, you say maybe more companies are still using partly of the collaboration around information locally and partly in the cloud, because we have also been in need of a better infrastructure regarding internet to be able to use and work with
of
documents
course?
in a good way, and now we are starting to get that. So that's starting to be a minor problem. Of course, there are situations where it could be a problem, but for the most of the companies, we have good internet connections today that can support that.
And so first step, fix so everyone can communicate in a good way, like email and such. Next step, fixing the collaboration, maybe file handling and such, moving up to the cloud so everyone can work remotely or from any device, or devices
Yeah.
maybe in the next step, maybe.
Yeah, it is, because this is in
Hmm?
steps, as we say, and in the end, you don't actually want to keep any customized solutions on the ground. You want to utilize on the standardizations because it's most efficient going forward. And the standardizations is really good today. You have the most of what you need as a company in the standardization in the cloud. And the next step has been now for a while, and that's the journey we are on with a lot of companies, moving the devices to the cloud. And what
How?
I mean with
What?
that, yeah, the
A
devices to the
device is a
cloud.
device. That
You just shouldn't have that in your hand anymore. No, but
okay?
no, it's like this. As of today, you have your devices and you have your identity. When you provide that to your end users, the company IT department need to have control of those devices. They need to help you deliver those devices so you have the right applications, the right tools you need to be productive in your working role. And now we can move that management to the cloud instead. So when you buy a device from
Ah.
Dustin, we can enroll it. I, as end user, log on to the device and get everything I need instant. Documents, my personal files, the security I need, the identity is used in the cloud. And with the new platforms we have in the cloud, you can actually add more security to your devices and identities, to your information platforms and so on.
So you move the security from the actual device to the cloud, like before the device, or?
No, you have the security incorporated in the device, in the identity, in the cloud, the same security.
Okay,
So it's
I think
all
I get
connected.
it.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected.
But
But
you talked about standardization,
yeah,
but if one person wants an iPhone, another person wants an Android phone, like if it's all standard, everyone should use this type of device, or is that not what you're talking about?
no, it's the standardization is more how from an IT department perspective, because that's where we have the most of the problem these days if we are not in the modern way of working. How can we provide a good platform for my end users working from home using new tools or old tools? But the way of managing this, providing, for example, Office to your end devices is the same. That's the standardization. Then it's depending on what person you are. Maybe I like the phone's experience better, but I still work with the same documents in the same way as the one working on an Android or a PC. It's the same security I can incorporate on the device as I do on a PC, and I can collect and monitor all the security within one interface through the cloud.
So the standardization is like everything behind the device. Whatever device you use, it will be the same for the IT department,
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. On the level you also design depending on the risk you have towards your company. And it's also, when we talk about standardizations in the cloud, it's like in the past, you maybe needed to configure, create everything specialized for your company. Now you can use the things that are already in the cloud. That's the standardization. You
So
don't
no
need,
more disk images and
no, you
installing
don't
every
need, no.
computer and then sending it out. And when something updates, you need to update the disk image and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. So it's so good today that you should look on the standardization and put your time and effort on developing the business instead, using and how
Yeah.
to use that, all those functions, because as we say, it's a lot about standardization and good things, but on top of this, you get new things that you can use to develop your company. But also really important, we can't forget education of the
Ah,
people. Also,
the
we talk a
classic
lot
first
about
step of
the
security.
fancy things. Yeah, they need to be on top of this. You need also in this journey to educate the people in the new way of working. And the new way of working will be when you train the employees in the new way of working. They will also learn that the new way of working will also be that I need to learn a little more constantly over time, because everything now is changing a lot, but it's not big changes, it's minor changes. So maybe a button have moved since yesterday when I use
Oh.
Word, for example.
And then you need to learn. This is, I think, a buzzword, micro learning or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
That's a very big thing right now. Not
Yeah.
just with digital, like this is the new way of learning things.
Mhm.
So that's also a tip for everyone watching. Check out
Yeah,
micro learnings. It will help the digital journey as well.
absolutely.
As you say, it's changing all the time, which we especially can see in days like this. And then you
Mhm.
need to learn as you go.
Mhm.
But
That's
okay,
right.
that was
Mhm.
devices.
Yeah.
So you first move the communication, the collaboration, the devices. What's the next step after that? Because that sounds pretty much it for me.
Yeah, yeah. You also with the devices somewhere. You also have moved your identity to the cloud, not your digital identity on the company.
I'm here.
Yeah, you're still there, but so that's also in this way because that's connected to security. But the next step, when we have done all these three steps, we still have something left, and that's most often all companies can relate to that, and that's some old legacy application.
Oh.
That's ours on some server on-prem or where it could be. It's hard to understand, how can I move this to the cloud? Can I transform it to a web application, or can I just move it to cloud? Will it work? And so on. And most often that legacy applications is really important for the company.
Like CRM systems and
Yeah.
registers and things like that.
Yeah.
That usually is.
Business invoicing system, ERPs. Yeah,
But
it could
how
be.
is that to move? That seems like a big step compared to the other ones.
Yeah, it has been a big step, because it's two things. It's the way of moving it to the cloud. It's the last thing that I actually can touch on. The invoicing system is really important, or the economic system. Moving that to the cloud, it's really important to then have all the security incorporated and activated in the cloud. But we have that. This also, when you have those old applications, it sometimes could be hard to work remotely to them on the devices at home, because they are not built for the modern way of working. And then you have two decisions to make. Other way, your vendor is recreating the applications to support the modern way of working or the cloud. Other way, you move the applications to the cloud to get rid of the last things that will impact on the user experience when in these days when we will work from home. But today we have in the cloud platforms that could support that we support the journey of moving legacy applications to the cloud in a really good way, and we still get the good user experience working towards those applications.
Yeah, because that seems like if everything else works like it works at home, like I'm used to Netflix and whatnot. Everything just works like this. I have Dropbox on my phone for my personal files. Everything works like that at where I work as well. I'm happy. But then if
Yep.
there's just one part that doesn't work like that, I would be a bit frustrated. But
Yeah.
you would say that's the last step because it's the hardest step, or
No, that's the most. That's the last step. That's most touching the heart of the company, the heart, and the last step. That's really needs to take decisions on when you move to cloud, secure the further management and security of it, and also the user experience on how to work it. So that's most often, and also it's why we haven't moved it is that we haven't had such a good ways of supporting it in the cloud. But we are there now, and like
perfect.
companies maybe have old applications. So I have one example. So now when the end of support of Windows 7 started now in January, we don't have support on when running Windows 7, and that's also the same for Windows Server 2018. But if you have a legacy application that still needs to run on those platforms, you can move it to the cloud, the Microsoft Cloud, and in the Microsoft Cloud, you can still run it on Windows 7 and 2008 and get extended support with security updates.
Oh,
So you can buy more time and still get time to transform the application. So that's the way, and still get in the modern way of working towards the cloud.
even though
But
you use
also,
old stuff.
yeah, and the other way is we call it Windows Virtual Desktop that's in the cloud. If one problem could be that this application is really heavy to run, so you can't run it on a remote location. But with new solutions, it's more than ever easy to run heavy applications in the cloud, and the user will get the same experience through a virtualization of the application toward the client. So what I'm talking about is that the end user will not recognize if this is in the cloud or on the prem.
And that's
So
a
for the
good
end
thing.
user, the experience will be the same.
But now, Frederick, I
Yeah.
need to thank you for
Yeah.
being here and talking about this and giving us the steps you need to think about because we're
Good.
running out of time. Thank you very much for joining us, Frederick.
Thank you.
And everyone who is watching, we will be back in 2 minutes and talking about leadership on a distance with Karin Evans from Influence People. See you soon.
things moving. We keep things flexible. We keep things growing. We keep things developing. We keep things safe. We keep things connected, protected, in line, on time, and online. We keep things social. We keep things interesting, sometimes maybe too interesting. We keep things simple. We keep things steady. We provide you with the right IT solution at the right time, at the right price, with one purpose: to keep things moving.
Hello and welcome back to Connected. We are just getting started, even though Fredrik gave us some really nice information about how to become a modern company, so to speak, when it comes to IT, that is. But now we're going to something that's maybe even more important than the IT solution, and that is leadership. Because without leadership, it's very hard to build a functioning company. And therefore, with me, I have Karin Evans from Influence People. Welcome.
Thank you.
So is leadership as important as I just said, or?
Well, definitely. You did a good job. You did a good job. And I think it's also important in the aspect of a modern company that you just said. I think that what we're going to talk today about, the distance leadership and remote leadership, is definitely
which is
a modern company.
Yeah, because without it, it can be hard to keep up with the days of 2020 and forward.
Definitely.
But let's start about you. Karin Evans, who
Yeah.
are you and why are you an
Who am
expert in
I?
this? Who is Influence People?
Well, we work with people transformation and actually leadership and transformation when it comes to moving people in changes. So change management is one of our core expertise, but we work a lot with leadership and culture transformation as well.
So both like company culture as well as the leadership and like the
How it all
personal.
intertwines and makes a great thing.
Perfect. And leadership, as we talked about, it's very important for a company to have good leadership in all different levels, small companies, big companies, everything. But when I think about leadership, I'm sitting at maybe one-to-one with my boss like this and having a discussion. I can see her, she can see me, and we're having this like a how can it familiar feel, personal feel. Leadership
It's
is
close.
yeah, and maybe in the bigger standing up and speaking to all your employees with
Visionary.
yeah, like that's leadership for me. But every image I get in my head is very physical, on site, direct.
Causes a problem today, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
because
It
right now
does.
people can't do that.
No.
Like
All of a sudden, it's not the way we do things anymore. Or not right now, at least.
so what problems have we seen with that? What difficulties have
Well,
arisen?
any big change causes challenges. I wouldn't say problems, but
No,
challenges.
challenges, of
Challenges,
course.
yes. And I mean, the challenges that we've had now with the new situation that the entire world is now in a major change. So I would say that there's loads of challenges to that when it comes to leadership. Actually, recent discoveries when it comes to that says that a lot of our focus is going to the technical aspects of stuff, like how do I do a Zoom meeting? How do I do team meeting? How do I do with Skype?
But then
actually,
you lose the leadership part.
Exactly, it's only 10%. And 90% is actually the leadership tasks. So if you're a great leader, normally, you need to have that leadership now with the distance as well.
But how do you keep that in focus? Because I just know how I have changed going through just doing my daily job as I'm used to. It's just natural.
We've changed everything.
And then like, but and then you focus on the tools. How can I use them to do
Yeah,
the
it becomes
same
very
thing?
tangible, and you can talk about the tools and how you set things up and the techniques, and that makes you feel safe and secure. You can hold on to something
Yeah.
practical.
But if
the
a leader
leadership-
starts
yeah.
focusing on that,
Well, who's then
they-
leading the
Exactly,
company
and
and
the-
towards vision and goals?
and the people who needs leadership even
More.
more than ever.
Especially during changes, because that is also a time of insecurity. People don't generally like change, which causes us to feel insecure. So we need to feel secure. So that's number one when it comes to leadership, that you need to make people feel secure and at ease with things. So I would say that to create that, you need to feel secure yourself. So leadership always starts with self-leadership and how well you know yourself. So how do you find yourself in this situation? What do you need to be able to perform your job? Give this a bit of reflection and actually come up with some points of what do I need to be able to lead during this. When I know how to lead myself, then I can move on to leading others, like leading individuals, teams, organizations, and companies. So it starts with yourself. And one thing that I think a lot of people, you touched it, that leadership is about being close and feeling close. Yeah. And in this, a way to make people feel close to you is to be transparent about how you are and how you feel. So if you start meetings by having a light check-in and saying, how are you all feeling today? Takes a lot of courage, because some people might not say good things. So as a leader, you need to be ready to take whatever comes along and be transparent and saying, maybe by yourself, that I don't feel really comfortable in this new situation. How do you think that we should solve this? And so on. Then you open up.
Like
That's
asking
one-
them, please, how do
Exactly.
they want to be
Yeah, how would you
led
like
now?
exactly?
'Cause
What type of closeness would you like to have with me at this point? I think that everyone reacts differently and needs a different type of connection. So you need to identify where they are now in this new situation. Maybe you knew them before and you knew that you wanted a one-to-one. Maybe someone else wanted to just a brief chat. But now you need to relocate and find where everyone is again.
But do you have any tips on like how to do it? Because as humans, but that may be personal, like it's so much easier seeing you here and having this chat. I can almost see how you feel in a way. But at the distance, now I'm going almost to the tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
the
because
tools and
they are important,
they
even though...
they are important, but you can also, don't forget the other tools that you also have, like the phone and text and actually, being in a meeting with someone and they suddenly get a text from their boss saying that, you did a really good job yesterday. I saw you. I thought that was amazing. And you just, that person saw me and I was seen and I'm confirmed. And, all of those things still matters. You now have to find other means of getting through and reaching out.
So actually just having this, changing the mindset on, can I use the new tools to do this and this? No. Okay, I did this before. I just need to do the same.
Yeah.
The tools are just
Exactly.
different.
I mean, there are things of meeting today, even though it is at a distance, but you can have a walk and talk to some. You can have a daily chat on the phone to someone. You can have a one-to-one in a different setup. So you need to find those different situations and actually reach out to those who want to be reached out to.
And when it comes to leadership, like if we came forward now and said like, okay, but the tools, they are important, of course, because many people talk on different tools and whatnot, but it is actually just keeping, not losing your natural leadership that you were good at before. But if you weren't good at leadership before, no, not good, but how can you be better? Let's talk more about the leadership as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, what are the most important things for a good leader?
Well, I think that we have one example that we actually talked a bit about before, which I think is is an example of what can actually happen and how these situations can now turn into something that is perhaps not so good. And I had this example from an organization that I'm supporting in some ways, and there was a function head that called up a manager that actually was not on Skype and had not been available on Skype for 2 hours. Called that person up and said, hey, what's happening? Where are you? And that person happened to be not working at that point. So you can ask yourself, what type of culture does that give the company, and what is actually the leadership in this aspect? Is it that the function head called? Is it that the person wasn't actually working, supposedly on working hours? So what is working hours? Where does it start and finish when you're working from home? And
Oh,
what
yeah, that's a
signals does
hard
that
one.
actually send? So I would like to go back to where we started with trust, because I think that that's one of the key elements in this, to actually establish a sense of trust in between. I know that you're willing to do this job, and I actually recruited you, so I know that you're the right person for the job, and I trust that you can do this
Yeah,
in a
'cause that is
way
something
that
you can see people not trusting. Like, I've heard this discussion when, okay, but you're working from home, so I don't know if you're working because I can't see you.
Exactly. And
And-
the Skype light is how I see you. Well, one tip, that's not how you see your employees. You can call them on whatever type of mean, and that's a way of feeling seen. The other one is more sort of being watched.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
very positive touch to that.
Oh, I would feel like spied upon in
Yeah,
that
exactly.
scenario.
So it does say something about the culture and how you are. But it could also be that the leader is actually quite unsecure in the sense of, how do I manage? Because delegation and follow up and setting up the routines are so important to create trust. So when do we have our mandatory meetings? When do I expect you to respond? And a lot of questions now, since everything or most of our things have changed. You need to be clear on what has stayed the same. Do we still have the company goals? Are we still reaching in the same way? Have we moved our targets ahead because of the situation? Am I, as an employee, still supposed to contribute in the way that I was before? So being clear on what has actually stayed and what has not changed due to this.
But if you were used to a more, say, hands-on approach, and like not spying on your employees, but at the office,
Don't.
you no, you saw everyone working, and therefore they
Yeah.
worked. And if you
Yeah.
had that, even if you're not like, I don't trust them, but when you see them, you feel secure by yourself that they are working, and now you can't do that. Do you have any like concrete tips? How can you do that without saying you haven't been on Skype in 2 hours?
Well, I think that to set the sort of a mutual understanding that my expectation is that you will reach out to me if you feel that you don't know how to perform this task, or if you want me to support you in any way. If I don't hear anything, I'd like for us to have a checkpoint at this point or that point or whatever. And at that point, I would like us to go through this. Do you have anything that you would like to contribute with at that meeting? And delegation and follow up is still the same, even though if you do it through digital tools. And I think that obviously, if you feel that performance is not there, then you have to work with that and see, why don't I see what I expect to see? And then that is a conversation in itself. Perhaps the person has a problem with adapting to the digital situation that they're in, and
And that's-
and then that's your job as a leader to support that. So
And I think many people have a problem adopting to that.
Yeah.
It is a change, as we said.
yeah, but I feel that now it's actually been like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually
People are
time
starting
flies,
to-
and now you actually see that people are asking different type of questions and are more sort of getting into it, and you can see that actually research show that people feel very efficient working from home, and that they feel quite alone. And that's
Yeah.
also a tip for leaders, to actually reach out and call people and be there and be visible. And you're not interfering or disturbing. You're just reaching out, and you don't need to have a specific purpose. You can just call.
Just to trying to do stuff so people, yeah, because what you said now, the two things, people are more effective at home, and yeah, that research is also that's even before this that, but now when you need to work from home all the time, everywhere, and everyone needs
Yeah.
to do it, that can be like hard to get the most out of, and that falls down on the leader to try to make it so everyone feel comfortable with it.
And I think again, if you know that people are generally more effective, then perhaps you don't need to push them in that area. Maybe you need to push them in other areas. I mean, now people are having digital after works and digital lunch meetings and even Easter dinners with relatives, you know.
Yep.
So, I mean, push for the really nice aspects of the leadership.
Do you think the employees have any, if we talk leadership like manager and employees, have any part of this driving it forward for better leadership right now? How can they help their own leader to help them?
Well, self-leadership, like where we started, goes for everyone. So that goes for everyone. Like understanding what do I need. Like me, for instance, I'm very effective working from home. I love that. But now I do it with my family around me, which is a struggle for me. They take a lot of attention. So now I need to find new circumstances. Like how can I sit with, can I have my, reducing earphones on, and can I sort of keep myself in some sort of bubble? Can I sit in the living room? Where can I be to actually do this? So I need to find for myself. And that goes for everyone. And speak up, be transparent. Say to whoever it is that you're working with, your manager or your leader as well, this is what I need. Given this situation, I'd like for you to support me like this. How can people know if you don't share?
Yeah,
right?
that's a very good tip, because especially like when you meet people and have the coffee chat and things like that, then you may feel that there's something wrong, or so to speak. That part is missing if it's only Skype calls and things like that, when there's a reason behind, like we need to have a meeting now. You miss that part.
Yeah.
How can you pick up on
think
things
about
like
yeah,
that?
exactly. Think about those leaders who already had a transparent leadership and who had built-in trust. I don't think that this transition was that hard for them.
That's probably true.
So, you can always work with the distance. And now, if you don't hear from them, then you realize that you probably don't have as close relationship as you possibly could have had. So
And
now
that's something to work with.
Well, it's
then.
definitely. This is a sort of a new area that will actually give you the opportunity to improve in some areas.
Nice. Do you have any last tips to give? Because we're running out of time
Well,
already.
build trust and also share. Don't be scared. Just dare to go wrong and just be transparent and say how you feel and how you would like, and share that you're not probably fully at ease from day one with this situation, as no one else is either. So, yeah, it's not harder than that.
That sounds amazing. Thank you very much for joining us on Connected.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And everyone who's watching, I'm going to say the same thing that I usually do at this point. We'll be back in about 2 minutes with our next guest. And our next guest is Dustin's CEO, Thomas Ekman, who will share his thoughts how the last couple of weeks, months have made us all change, and what does that mean for our future? Stay tuned. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
We keep things moving. We keep things flexible. We keep things growing. We keep things developing. We keep things safe. We keep things connected, protected, in line, on time, and online. We keep things social. We keep things interesting. sometimes maybe too interesting. We keep things simple. We keep things steady. We provide you with the right IT solution at the right time, at the right price, with one purpose: to keep things moving.
And welcome back. We are now here with our third guest of today, and that is none other than Thomas Ekman, our CEO.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to Connected.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
We've talked about earlier today
Yeah.
about how this, let's say, crisis, where we are today, has affected like the modern day of working and leadership.
Yeah.
But we're going to focus more on like what has actually happened. What can we see? How has companies changed? And
Yeah.
people have changed
Yeah.
a lot during this as well.
Mm.
And we set the headline to 3 years in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that's kind
Which
of
is good.
telling.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
because things happen like this. In
Yes.
just one moment, everyone needed to change.
Yeah.
From the smallest to the largest companies and more.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think.
there?
First of all, we also, as you mentioned, also this is a complete human crisis, of course, with a lot of tragedy in it. It's a lot of people losing their jobs, and companies go under, and people actually die in this. What it also shows is that actually the willingness to change for us as humans and companies has really come to a point where we thought that, okay, we need to change. So we just did it. And this change that has rapidly come to all companies, to all people who had just overnight changed their behavior in how they work. And that's, of course, I think it's a change that we're undergoing that we really haven't seen or understood the consequences of yet.
No, but that's also hard. Like, because it came like, as you said, in a moment,
Just like that, yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
just needed to change. But it's also very cool to see that everyone did.
Yes, it is. It is.
Change.
It's amazing, I think, and that's if you're a strong believer in humanity, this is how we work in crisis like this. We change. That's what we do, and things that we thought were completely impossible to do when we or to think about or to imagine in January, we have just did a couple of months ago, and I think this. We as a company, and I as myself, has been a sort of an ambassador for digitalization for like 30, 40, 50 years more or less, and now everything has happened, and I think that is the true change of this, is that even the smallest company or the restaurant and everything had changed, and everyone had to work from home, and this change will continue even when we are sort of more in control of the spread of the virus. This change will continue, and we start. If you look, we can see if in our business we can see. I mean, the first days everyone bought their equipment for working from home. It was very focused.
Webcams to
Yes,
everyone.
yes, and it was very focused on the practical stuff, just to get things up and running, get it to work. And then came the next phase where people started to realize, okay, I need a better screen, I need a better chair, I cannot sit at the kitchen table, I need to work here from home. And now I work 8 hours a day from home. And then comes the next question from the third question is security. Okay, how does it actually work? I need to change my router, I need to change everything that. And now comes the really interesting questions. Shall I actually go to work? Why should I have these stressful mornings, sending the kids to school, stuck in traffic jams or crowded buses? Do we need to be at the work at the same place? And I think this change, if you would say this before this crisis, say that, yeah, this will happen in 2 months. All this
No
change
way.
of mind.
No
one
way.
would say that would work. And that has happened in less than 2 months.
Like, if you, as Dustin CEO, said in February,
Yeah.
say January maybe,
Yeah.
but like, okay, everyone, we're going to work from home for 2 months. So we're renovating the office, or actually, like, we want to do something. Like, so you need to work from home now. Do you think it would have gone the same way as now?
No, it would not. It would be met with a lot of criticism, and of course, many people would say that it would not work. We need to meet.
Yeah.
We need to have meetings and so forth. And this is, of course, I mean, that is sort of the flip side of the coin. If you look at the sort of the positive side of the change here, it's that you also realize the power of getting everyone to understand why we do things. Why do we do this? Because it's very logic for everyone to understand. Okay, we need to get control of the virus. We need control of that. So we need to take distance from each other. So we need to work from home.
And when
Everyone
everyone is on the same page,
Yeah.
then change actually can happen quickly.
It does, and everyone understands. And that is, of course, what if you talk to a strategy people or a strategy consultant, this is what the dream, and of course, in my job also as CEO, this is what, in that sense, what I really want everyone to understand. This is the goal of the company. This is why we do things.
Do you think how hard is it to get something like that without a crisis?
It's extremely hard. I mean, just go into a bookstore and read all the management books that says how you should do it. And it continues to come out books that says, and still it's the most common hard question for a company. How do we get everyone in the company to understand why we're doing this and where we are heading?
Do you think we can learn anything from now? Like, as we said, this is a crisis. There's a lot of negatives, but like, do you think we can learn something positive when it comes to like leadership and getting everyone on board?
Yeah, I think there will be. I think we can learn a lot, and I mean, everyone has learned a lot. I learned a lot. You learn really what. Of course, everyone start to also ask the really basic questions, sort of what are really important in life and so forth, which is very important to put to yourself. But then as a company, how to run a company, I mean, how it's just look at us internally, how we have changed. I mean, all staff meetings we have, or all employee meetings we have, we take them through video. It's much more inclusive. Previously, we used to have some people were there live and some were with us on video. For the ones in the room, it was very live, but for the ones, it was not as inclusive. And we get a lot of more interaction. People put more questions. It's a lot more interactive meetings.
Which is like, if you, as you said, if you ask someone in January, they would have said, no, we want to be there, we want to see.
Yeah.
And but now we're doing it in another way, and it actually works better for many parts.
Yeah. And now you also see in the meetings when you have Teams meeting or Skype or Zoom meetings and so. I mean, in 1.5 months ago, no one really was sure should I have the video on and so forth. But now it's the natural thing to have. So now it's more you ask, why don't you have the video on? Why I can't see you?
Yeah,
that is also a sort of, we have left that sort of uncomfortable zone of not using the tools, and therefore we have taken. As I said, we have taken leaps in our mindset how to interact with each other.
Like in only 2 months is such like I don't think not even I understand how short a time that is for, because we're talking a behavioral change.
Yeah,
human change.
Yes, we do.
Which usually takes 100 years, 20 years.
Yes.
Like the digital transformation, as you've spoken of, like we've talked about that for so long.
We have.
And we had just that, like we had Fredrik Berg from Dustin here earlier and talked about the digitalization of IT, where to move to the cloud, to move to the modern way of working, and draw parallels with how you use like private person. You've used email in the cloud since email came. Yeah. And that's over 20 years ago. Like email has never been on your computer. No. But for a company, it has been like that until some people may still have their own servers with email.
Yes, they do.
Today.
Yeah, they do.
And that discrepancy, then we can talk about the digital transformation that's 30 years and things like that. And now in 2 months, people change things like that haven't been able.
Yeah, and that is, I think that's interesting, and that's interesting referring to Fredrik's comment there, because today we are much more digital as private persons than we are in the offices, and that is also changed from history, where you used to go to the office to see the latest equipment and so now
that's where they were a computer.
Exactly, they were the one connected to internet or the latest fax machine.
Yeah.
But and now it's the opposite, the way around. You as a new employee come to the office which is a lot more digitally equipped than you are in the traditional office, and that has radically changed now. And the questions also, what we see from our customers is that the questions from our customers is also changing a lot. Now it's natural that you need to have a cloud solution. You need to be able to have all your employees working from wherever they are, I mean remotely or mobile working, they don't need to be in the office, and we cannot have them in the office in the same place. So I think we are about to reevaluate the whole the whole way of working, where what is actually the need of an office, and where and we have still starting to talk about when should we come back to the office.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
no idea.
well, maybe we will not come back to the office. Maybe we'll come back to another place. We see the office in another way. And I think all those questions that we have been forced to ask ourselves now during this very limited time, or
Well,
limited time.
What are your thoughts there about the office?
I think
If you just
yeah.
think freely, what could happen?
I think it would be brilliant if we use the office as a place for social interaction, because still we are social animals and we need a social interaction.
Yeah.
But we use it more for that than for specific moments. Not just come to the office to sit in the office for a full day and then go home and have these stressful mornings where you get the kids to school and so forth and stuck in traffic jams, as I said earlier. So that will change.
It's more like, yeah, but the office is there if you need it.
Yes.
Not the office is there for you to be at every, like,
exactly
by rule.
And the important the basic foundation of being a human being is trust, that we trust each other. I trust you and you trust me. And this is sort of we are sort of forced to trust each
Yeah.
other, that you are home working and you are actually doing your job. I cannot be there controlling you, and that is so good, because that is also what you strive for as an employer, that you actually everyone trusts that. I trust that everyone does their best job, and they do it wherever they are.
Yeah.
So this is also a radical change for many
That's,
employers. They cannot control their employees anymore, and that is really good, because you have to rely on trust, and that we like a lot.
Like, this is the more we talked a bit about all of this before we sat down here, and even now, like, there's so many things. Just my mind goes.
It is.
Because it's so much bigger
Yes.
than I've thought about. Because I've just moved my work to home,
Yeah, you do.
but that's just 5%, 10% of the actual change happening.
Yeah.
And if we talk about that, going back to, like, the transformation, as
Yeah.
we said, have taken so long. We've talked about that. It's one of the topics we talk to our customers about
Yes, yeah.
the most.
Yeah.
Like, and they set up plans, 3-year plans, 5-year plans to move things. And with Frederick, we had the step by step to move to the cloud. Like,
Yeah.
and now suddenly the first step, communication, and the second step, collaboration, was moved instantly. So now everyone is on board already.
Yes,
Like, the
they are.
plans are thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Everyone has done the first steps.
We took
to-
a leap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
we did.
3 years and
Yeah, 3 years.
3 weeks.
Yes, we did.
But then, of course, we're soon there. The digital transformation has happened. Or when has it happened? And what's the next thing? If you
Yeah, I
catch my
think
drift.
yes. I think overall, technical tools and practical things, how to do things, that we will always solve, and we will always find a new, better, improved quality on technical, so cameras will be better and so forth. But the most important part of the change is, of course, our own mindsets, that we are very rapidly becoming digital sort of natives, maybe we could call it. I mean, as we call very young people today, that they only lived in a digital age. But
there aren't anything else.
no, there
This
is no sort of analog world. Well, of course, there is an analog world, but there's only digital tools. But for everyone, that has happened now. So everyone is sort of has been thrown into a digital sort of pot where everything needs to be digital. And that, I think, that mindset is the most important thing in this, because then your first thought is, how can I do this digitally, rather than we have to meet, we have to see each other. I mean, I don't have to, if I need to be in our office in Oslo for a 2-hour meeting, well, probably I will not take the flight over there anymore. I will probably just hook up in a Teams meeting, because I set up the tools, I know this, and we know how to interact also over video.
Yeah, and when that part is not, like, even a question.
No.
Should I take the flight?
Yeah.
Should I do this? Or it's just natural. Oh, we have a meeting.
Yes.
And when you said we'll have a meeting, both people will just go to an online meeting without saying, should we do it online?
Yes, exactly. The first thought is to do it online. And that mindset, I think that is sort of the key driver in change, that you actually have changed the mindset, because we have been focused, I mean, in in pre-change, then you're very much focused on the practical stuff. You're
Yeah.
focused on the tools. You
And
need
it's
a tool.
tangible.
It's very concrete. It's tangible. It's not so abstract. But now during this very short period of time, we have sort of come to all the next questions. Should I be in the office? Can I take it online? Should I really take that flight and so forth? Of course, we will fly and business travel will happen. We will go to other countries, of course. But for these short term, that was very traditional way of doing business for many companies. That will change, definitely.
But as we've seen the big change now. Of course, there will be more changes and like technology. I don't remember the name now. Moore's law. With the doubling. And that becomes a logarithmic curve, and you can see that like the industrial age took 100 years, and the digitalization 30 years for it. Like it goes faster and faster and faster. That means things change faster and faster. Maybe when you're finished with the digital transformation, the next thing has already started. And things when this is what's happening today is probably one of the biggest things for most people alive right now.
Yes, definitely.
That has happened in the world.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that there can't be any bigger event or thing happening later on.
No.
How can we be prepared for changes like that, both in the technological advancement and like that will bring things that will happen like this?
Yeah, I think overall, if you look historically on things, there have always been. I mean, the most effective ways to change human behavior is by a crisis or by a natural disaster and so forth. Then you really need to change, and because everyone understands why, that's why we change. And this will, of course, this is the same here. That this change, and we will be more prepared to understand that this can actually happen. I mean, no risk matrix in any company has this in their minds. And
so
now
we didn't have a plan, like
no, we didn't have
step by step.
No, but
if the whole world
collapses or closes, what do we do then? No, I think no one had that in their plans, and that or no one had, of course. But we will probably not. We will be much more prepared, of course, and we will also understand where do we need to be really prepared. For example, in healthcare, we need to be much more prepared in healthcare. So we will put a lot of more resources in that, but everyone will understand why. If you would have said that, okay, we need to be prepared for pandemic in half year ago, well, no one has thought, but let's push that forward.
Yeah,
but now one really understands, and that's also why now we have now we understand why we need to be prepared more for things like this, and we are also much more used and prepared as companies also for this. But it's also a fact that we need also companies that set up so that people start to run a restaurant again. I mean, run a hotel again, run a airline company. I mean that
we can't just stop.
No, we cannot, and we will continue to do that as well. But we need to support each other in doing that, so we can also run those kind of businesses.
I think that's a great sentiment to stop this on, because we're actually running out of time.
Yeah,
this
already.
went like 20 minutes goes like this.
Just like 3 weeks.
Just like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you can join us again sometime to see maybe after summer, seeing has the offices changed already.
Yeah, exactly.
2 months to do digitalization. Maybe all the offices will change in just a couple.
They probably will.
Who knows?
Thank
you very much. And everyone who's watching, thanks for watching episode 6 of Connected. I hope you will tune in next week as well, where we, among other things, will talk about how laughter can help you stress down and actually take care of yourself at home. That's something I'm looking forward. It's not very digital, but we need to take care of ourselves in a new way.
We definitely do.
Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.
Thank you.